Hey everyone, welcome to yet another Linux lecture. This video is a continuation of our previous video where we looked at how to install Docker on Ubuntu 22.04. So in case you missed that one out, you can check the link above and see how to install Docker on Ubuntu 22.04. So in this video, we're going to go a step further and see how to work with Docker containers and images. So just before we get our hands dirty, let's have a brief overview of Docker containers and images. So a Docker container is a lightweight, standalone, and executable software package that includes everything needed by an application to run reliably. And this includes the source code, libraries, dependencies, configuration file, etc. Now, a container runs reliably and consistently across any environment that supports Docker Engine. And this is precisely why Docker is a very popular platform for building, deploying, and sharing applications, because containers will run consistently regardless of whether they are on Linux, Windows, or Mac platform. Okay, let's check Docker images. So an image or a Docker image is a read-only template or file with instructions for creating a container. So basically it's a blueprint of the libraries and dependencies required inside a container for an application to run. Okay, now with that brief introduction of Docker containers and images, let's now switch over to our terminal and see how to work and manage Docker containers and images. So we have looked at what a Docker image and a container are. Now in this section, we are going to get our hands dirty and see how you can work with Docker images and containers. Now before we move on, by default, Docker uses the Docker Hub registry for pulling images and running containers. Okay, so we need to confirm that we can access and pull images from the Docker Hub registry, and to do so we are going to create a simple container called hello world container. All right, so on the terminal, simply run the command docker run hello world. Okay, then hit enter. So you'll see this output on your screen. So now let's go over and digest it. So behind the scenes, the Docker client looks for the hello world image. All right, so as you can see from the first line, it was unable to find the image. Hello world locally. All right, so next it goes or contacts the Docker daemon, which then pulls the hello world image. Okay, all right, so as you can see here, the pull is complete. Now when the image is pulled, the Docker daemon now creates a Docker container, which then streams the output hello from Docker. All right, now once the output is displayed, now the container exits and stops running. So here below you can see the installation steps taken for the output to be displayed. Okay, so as you can see, point 1, the Docker client contacted the Docker daemon, then the Docker daemon pulled the hello world image from Docker Hub. Okay, now the Docker daemon created a new container from that image, which runs the executable that produces the output that you're currently reading. All right, so now after the Docker daemon streamed the output, the container exits. All right, okay, so let me clear the screen. Now we can list the Docker images that are present on your system by running the command docker images and hit enter. Okay, so on your screen we can see we have the hello world image. Okay, so here's the information you get. You get the repository name, you get the name of the tag. We have here the image ID, which is unique to every image. So you can see here the duration or when the image was last updated, and finally here you can see the size of the Docker image. Okay, all right, so now we can list the containers that are running by running the command docker ps. Okay, so when you hit enter, you can see we have no currently running containers, and the reason for that is that the container created from the hello world image exited the moment it streamed the output on the terminal. So currently we don't have any active containers running. However, you can run the docker ps and then pass the -a option to view all the containers, including those ones that exited. So when you hit enter, you can see that we have this container here. So we can see the details of the container, including the container ID. So this was created 2 minutes ago and exited around 2 minutes ago. So now this is the name of the container. Okay, so this is just a generic name. It's generated by Docker. Okay, all right, so let's now see how you can work with Docker images. So as you can see, if you're creating a container from an image that does not exist locally, Docker daemon will contact Docker Hub to pull that image first before creating the container. Okay, so let's try to search an image from Docker Hub, and to do so you use the docker search command followed by the name of the image. So for example, if you're searching an Apache image, you can run docker search httpd, okay, and hit enter. So here you get some bunch of output, okay, and normally the first entry that you get from the output is usually the image from the official vendor. So here you can see we get the description. So we have the Apache HTTP server project. It has 4,677 stars, and as you can see here, it's from the official vendor. All right, so down below you can see other images bearing the name httpd. All right, but for now we're going to pull the image from the official vendor. So let me clear the screen. So we are going to pull the httpd image. All right, and to do so we simply run the command docker pull. Okay, so docker pull followed by the name of the image, in this case httpd, hit enter. Okay, so you can see the pulling is in progress. Okay, and we are done. So once again we are going to list the images that are existing on the system by running the command docker images, hit enter. So now you can see we have two images. We have the original hello world image here, and we have the httpd image. Okay, right, so now let's move on to containers. Okay, so we are going to see how you can work with Docker containers. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to create a container off of the httpd image. All right, so I'm going to run the command docker run -d -p 8080 then httpd. All right, so what this command does is that it runs it creates a httpd container. Okay, so the -d flag runs the container in detached mode or in the background. Then the -p flag is for port binding. So it maps port 80 on the container to port 80 on the Docker host, which is the server we are currently running. So I'm going to hit enter. Okay, so now let's list the containers that are running. So once again, I'm going to run the docker ps command here. Okay, so you can see we have an active container running. Okay, and here you can see the port mapping. Okay, so now the httpd container is running. All right, so what you're going to do, we're going to verify this. Okay, so we are going to our web browser and see whether we can see the Apache web server. Okay, Alright, so here I'm on my web browser. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy and paste the IP address of the Docker host or the server on which Docker is running. So I'm going to copy this here. Then followed by port 8080 colon port 8080. Okay. Then I'm going to hit enter. Alright, so you can see message, it works. So this confirms that the Apache container is up and running as we would expect. All right. All right, so now let's try something more ambitious. So far we've been running application containers. Now let's switch it a level higher and see how you can work with OS containers and how you can gain interactive shell session. All right, so now we're going to create an Ubuntu container. All right, so we're going to run the command docker run -it then Ubuntu. So like that. So the -it options will allow you to gain interactive shell session with Ubuntu container image. So hit enter. Okay, so as you can see, the Ubuntu image is being downloaded. Okay, and a container has been created. So as you can see here, the shell prompt has changed to root at, and you can see a few alphanumeric images, a few alphanumeric values here. So now we are inside the Ubuntu container. Okay, and we can run a few commands. For example, we can update the package lists by running app update. Okay, so you can see the container image is being updated. All right, so you can also, let's try and see if we can install an application. So we're going to install Redis. So we can try apt install Redis -y. Okay, so as you can see, the installation is underway. All right, so to exit from the container, simply type exit, and this will take you back to your terminal shell. All right. Okay, so as you can see, it's pretty much easy. And now let's see how you can manage Docker containers and images. So now let's see how many images we have so far. So we can run the command dockerimages. Okay, so here you can see so far we have 3 images. Okay, and they have been listed from the latest to the earliest. So this is the image. So as you can see, this is the image that you have just pulled or downloaded from Docker Hub, and this was the first image that we had earlier on pulled. Okay, so now let's check the running containers. So we can see we can run the command docker ps. So we still have the Apache container running. Okay, you can run the docker ps -a to view all the containers, including those that are running and those ones that exited. So I'm gonna hit enter. Okay, so here you can see we have one running container, which is the Apache container, and 2 containers which have exited. So we have the Ubuntu container and the Hello World container. All right. Okay, so to view the last container we created, we can run the docker ps, then -l option. Okay, so the -l option will give you or list the container that was last run or created. So this was the Ubuntu container. Okay, right. So now let's see how you can start and restart containers. Okay, so now once again I'm going to run the docker ps command to see which containers are running. Okay, so we have 1 container. Now to stop a container, simply run the docker stop command followed by the container ID. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it there. Okay, so I'm going to hit enter. Okay, so this displays the container ID on the output. So this confirms that the container has been stopped. All right, and you can confirm this by running the container docker ps. So once again, now you can see we have no container listed. So this shows that our command was successful. Alternatively, you can run docker stop followed by the container name. So here the container name is here under the names column. So let me start the container. Okay, so to start a container, run docker start, then followed by the container ID. Okay, let's list the containers. So I'm going to run docker ps. Okay, now we've seen one way to stop a container is using the container ID. You can also stop the container using the container name here. So I'm going to copy this, Dazzling Rubin, and I'm going to paste it here. Okay, then I'm going to hit enter. So this will display the container name on the output. Okay, now let's check the running containers using the docker ps command. So here you can see we don't have any containers running. So we have seen that we can start or stop a container using the container ID, or we can also use the container name that is generated by Docker. All right, so alternatively you can also restart a container. Okay, so to do so, you can just use the command docker restart. Then you can pass the container name or also the container ID. So I'm going to use the container name here. Okay, now let's run docker ps. Okay, so you can see the container is up and running. All right, so there we go. Now let me clear the screen. Now let's see how you can remove a Docker container. So now to remove a Docker container, the first step you need to do is to stop it first. So Docker, but before we stop it, let's try to remove it before stopping it. So I'm going to run the command docker rm, then the container ID. So I'm going to copy this. Sorry, I'm going to copy this ID here, paste it there. Okay, then hit enter. So as you can see, you'll get an error on your screen, and as you can see, you cannot remove a container this. Okay, so you need to stop the container before attempting to remove it. All right, so now what you're going to do, we are going to first of all stop the container. Okay, so to do so, we are going to run the command docker stop, and then docker stop. Then we're going to pass the container ID here. Okay, so let's confirm that the container has been stopped by running docker ps. So the container is stopped. Now we can safely remove the container by running docker rm, then the container ID. So hit enter. Okay, so you can see that the container has been removed. So if you try to check the containers, okay, so you can see that when you run the docker ps-a, you don't find the container anymore. So this confirms that the container has been removed. Okay, all right, so let me clear the screen. So now let's see how you can remove an image. Okay, so now first of all, let's list the current images on our system, docker images. Okay, so these are the images that are currently existing. Okay, so the command to remove an image is simply docker rmi, then followed by the image name. So in this case, let's try to remove the Ubuntu image. So we are going to copy this. Okay, and then we're going to pass it here. So hit enter. Okay, so here we get an error that we are unable to delete this. It must be forced because the image is being used, because image is being used by a stopped container. So this is a stopped container. Okay, so now let's check the containers. So we're going to use the docker ps-a. Okay, so one rule of removing images is that you must first of all delete or remove the container associated with the image before removing the image. So here what you're going to do, we are going to remove the container that was stopped. So we're going to run the command docker rm and then followed by the container ID. Okay, so I'm going to paste it here and hit enter. Okay, so we have removed the container. Let's confirm this. Okay, so the Ubuntu container does not appear when you run the docker ps-a. All right. Okay, so now we can go ahead and remove the Ubuntu docker image. So we can run the command dockerimages. Okay, so followed by the image ID. I'm gonna paste it again here. So I'm going to press enter. Okay, so now we can see we have successfully removed the image. So to remove an image, first of all, you need to ensure that the container is removed first. And before you can remove the container, remember you need to first of all stop it and then remove it. Okay, so to remove the image, then finally you can run the dockerimages followed by the image ID. Okay, so now let's list the docker images again. So here you can see the Ubuntu image is gone and we don't have it listed anymore. All right. Okay, so that's just about it for this lecture. So in this lecture we have seen the basic commands of working with Docker containers and images, and we have seen how you can pull images, create containers, and how you can manage containers by starting, stopping, and restarting them, and how you can also remove container images. Okay, so that's just about it for this lecture. I hope you guys found it insightful. Please subscribe to my channel. You can leave a like if you found this insightful, and this will go a long way towards helping me create more Linux tutorials like this. So see you guys in the next lecture.